What's up, everybody? You are listening to What I Know for Sure, the podcast, and I'm your host, Callie. And for this month of July, we are celebrating and learning all about my favorite women in business who have created these businesses or businesses have created them to give them the ultimate freedom. So if you need a little inspiration or encouragement to jump out of the plane and start knitting your business on the way down, y'all just keep listening.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free. Then there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
All right, and I am with the wonderful, inspiring FUNness facilitator, as she has deemed herself, Nina Obier. Everything you need to know about Nina Obier is that she loves taking selfies. She is a crazy fan of happy hours and uses the phrase, in my humble opinion, quite a lot. She is passionate about personal development and is known for having the wisdom of a 90-year-old with the energy of a 9-year-old. She loves to smile for a living, share, motivate, inspire, listen, encourage through her speaking, writing, and coaching as a life strategist, and again, the FUNness facilitator. So thank you, Nina, so much for just opening your heart and opening your brain to all of us today. And we talked a little bit about, before we pressed record on this dang thing, about sort of the mission of this podcast and just kind of the overarching wisdom that I am pulling from women such as yourself to inspire and share with other women who may be struggling. And so my first question is sort of, how did you find your business, or did your business find you? Where did it all start? Take us on a little journey, if you will.
Oh, Callie, I love your energy. I love everything about this. And first and foremost, I want you all to know it's such an honor to have this opportunity to share my story. And the more opportunity I get to do it, the more blessed I feel. And first and foremost, we all have a story to share. And I think with what we're talking about, the more we share those stories, or we open up, or we phone a friend, or we text, or we, any of those things, I think the better off we're going to be. So please don't hold it in. And so, did you find your business, or did your business find you? All right, let's go on just a slight small journey, because I have been an entrepreneur for 20 years.
20 years.
I know, I like to joke that I don't even look that old, but
She really doesn't.
And it's all good. So, and I even remember in the early stages of being in business. So I think this is kind of part of what we're talking about, going, oh, I can't wait to tell people, that I have this many years experience. Does anyone else say that? Like, you're just like hoping for this like credibility of the years of experience. And so anyways, that's a farce, first of all. So don't hang on to that. Just be powerful in who you are. So as the story goes, I started in corporate America, which I know many people do. And by the way, I am not bashing corporate America or a job or a career. You get to do you in the most powerful way you choose. And I'll tell you, I was definitely powerful. I'm not going to lie. I started in the hotel industry after graduating with a hotel restaurant degree. The day after graduation, I went straight into Hyatt Hotels, and I started in management. And over a 9-year span, I had every possible position in leadership in the rooms division side, not the food and beverage side, but the rooms division side. So any of you who know me or you get to know me, you're probably like, oh, that's probably a good fit, right? It's where you can be a people person.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I totally see Nina in all the hotel things.
Right. And so it was so much fun. And I stayed with Hyatt my entire career. I was put on opening teams. So when hotels weren't even open, we went in and we got to stage all the rooms. And so I did that kind of alongside what else I did. And then my big break came, and they were actually opening up a flagship hotel in San Diego, California. Now, I was born in New York. I grew up in Miami, and I went to school in Connecticut. I tell you those things because we're all East Coast. And now here I am saying San Diego, California. And I was just recently married. My husband had never, he had never traveled West ever. His whole family was all in Connecticut. And it was so cool to just go to him and go, do we do this? And he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's just do this adventure. So through the years, I worked, like I said, I worked my way up. But towards the end of my career, I had my first baby. And after my first baby, my husband had an opportunity to move us back to the East Coast. And of course, any of you who are fortunate enough to be parents and to have a baby, and then now you have this opportunity to be closer to family, because the joke goes, and I know we don't have a ton of time, but the joke goes, everyone would call us at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would answer the phone in California and be like, hello. And they would be like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, but they're like, it's 9 o'clock over there. So anyways, just a fun, silly conversation. All right. So then literally when we moved from California to Florida, I was on maternity leave. And we were with our first baby. And so I had an opportunity. I had a chance to go a different direction, right? And I say that because I remember having this like kind of feeling like, is this still in alignment? Is this still what I want to do? It was based on what my husband now had the opportunity to do. So since his job moved us back and he was going to be, on call 24/7 for what he did, I was like, it was like, okay, but it was just like a dull, I think Callie knows this as we were talking about this actual podcast, right? This little in the background. And yet I didn't trust my intuition. And I went with what was safe. And I let the Hyatt, there were 2 Hyatts in my area, know that I was available. So I went back to work for the Hyatt. And again, it's good. It's great.
Sure.
I found someone wonderful to take care of my daughter. She commuted with me in the car and we dropped her off, and she actually got to be those first few years raised with her cousin, which now, of course, they joke they're only 6 months apart. They're more like brother and sister than cousins because they had all that time together when they were little.
Right.
So of course, finding the good in it. Then I got the promotion of like all promotions with Hyatt in the next Hyatt in the same town. And now I'm doing it. I'm right below the general manager. I'm like, all right, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so great. And I get pregnant with our second child. And if I'm being completely honest, you guys, instead of trusting that this was no longer in alignment being in this hotel industry, but looking back on the whole journey, I feel like I have no regrets for being that senior training and development specialist. It helped me being an entrepreneur. They're all good, right? They're all good things. But if I'm telling you the true story, that probably was a step that didn't need to be taken. I knew I wanted to have a second baby, but I literally was like, I know I can get pregnant. And if I get pregnant, then I'll go on maternity leave. And when I'm on maternity leave, I will make a change, right? Am I the only crazy one?
You're making a plan. You're making an exit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm making an exit plan. Couldn't I have just like exited, y'all? I mean,
not that we would trade the second one for anything in the world.
It's all good. So I was on maternity leave with my second baby, and I knew that I had that sinking feeling. There's something more. There's got to be a change. There's more to this. There's more that you are meant to do. And I trusted. It's funny because I trusted, and yet I still took a semi-safe step, but it's okay. It's okay, right? Because it's all part of the journey. So while on maternity leave, I fulfilled an ad in the paper. Yep, that's dating me. And I think faxed the resume, right? Um, and I got the opportunity to work for the Federal Reserve Bank as their senior corporate training and development specialist. And I, wanted to get out so bad from the hotel industry that I took this job, and my maternity leave wasn't even over. Of course, they have no idea I have just had a baby, none of those things. Oh my gosh, do you see so much now that Callie, I don't even know. Should I be telling this story? I mean, I
Yeah.
sound like crazy, crazy lady.
Looking back, what was the thing now where you go, oh, this was the moment where I became burnout on the hotel industry, or were you burned out?
So that's a great, great question. And oh my goodness. Yeah. When I look back, so these are some of the signs. You put in a ton of hours in the hotel industry, and it is an incredible industry. I made some incredible friends. I learned some skills, let me tell you, skills that have served me well in the future things that I did. So, definitely that. But when I look back and know how I was really, really, really tiny. Like, so, yeah, if you see me now, you're like, oh, she's tiny. Well, imagine even tinier. And people would like talk about it. But in my mind, I'm going, do you know why? Because I can't sleep. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not eating well. I am, I'm running around doing all these things, trying to be this incredible mom to this baby who's basically being raised by somebody else, right? We're driving upwards to an hour each way. She's in the car with me. I'm dropping her off close to the hotel. Thank goodness, because I was always screeching in 5 minutes before I had to pick her up, paying this woman. I mean, again, it was in a home. She was an incredible woman. She home cooked meals, all those kinds of things. But are you kidding me? And then my baby would sleep on the way home. And then she would get home and be like, play with me. And I'm like, play with you? We got to wake up at 5 a.m. and do this thing all over again. So again, I recognized it. And here I am saying, truth be told, I literally did say, okay, let's have another baby. And when I have that baby and I'm on maternity leave, I could walk away. Y'all, that's not exactly healthy. And I noticed that now. There was a calling for something else, this whole entrepreneurship, right? And yet back then, I feel like I only had so much capacity of my confidence or of, the clarity of what I wanted to do. And so for me, you'll hear me say a lot, little by little, a little became a lot. And that's really my journey. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I've got that sinking feeling, I know my gut is telling me just go do the thing. My lesson to you is to trust it. Because when has it really ever let you down? If you look back and say, when I didn't trust it, what happened? When I did trust it, what did? So I wouldn't take back those couple of years, because it was only a couple more years that I did the hotel industry from California coming back into Florida. But really, when I came back to Florida with the first baby, there was something telling me, don't go back, right? But sometimes we do choose the safe road, the easy road. When did I finally get into entrepreneurship, which was your original question? And did it find me or did I find it? September 11th, that fateful day, finally knocked me over, like it knocked many people over. And the Federal Reserve Bank things were great. I was being certified and licensed in so many different things. They were asking me to travel. I was helping all sorts of different branches. Like it was, again, this whole like, oh yeah. And then who's raising the babies? It's back to who's raising the babies. My husband's never around. I'm never around. Is this truly what I want for my life? That day, right, when everything changed, I knew I was no longer going to stuff down that feeling or that gut feeling or that intuition. And I had a hobby that I was doing, and I turned that hobby into a business, and I never looked back. And I did it for 13 years. So I would say it's kind of a yes and after all that, right?
Yeah.
Did I find it? it was kind of a match made.
What was the conversation that you had with yourself on that day to really hone in the fact that, all right, Nina, we need to have an honest conversation with ourselves? What was that? What triggered that?
So what triggered it was a few weeks later, my husband was sent up to New York, to Staten Island, to work at a he is still a paramedic, very special paramedic, which is, not his story. But anyways, let's just say he went up there to work. And while he was there, and of course, if you remember, if you were alive, or if you want to talk to your parents about it, or whatever the case may be, just how many weeks after, there was still this feeling of, when's the other shoe going to drop? Is another shoe going to drop? All that kind of stuff. And watching, I no longer watch TV, but watching the images back then on TV and here with the babies, I literally was on my bedroom floor crying my eyes out while the babies were sleeping upstairs. And the conversation was, you waking up, going to do this thing, bringing the kids to daycare all day and coming home. Are you serving your true calling for this moment? Like, are we using your God-given talents and abilities and all of those things to its highest degree at this moment? And how can you best serve, right, those that are right in front of you? And again, this is looking back then, it was just like, yeah, probably a little bit fear driven, but mostly I was certain those are the things I was feeling from the moment I had my first daughter back in San Diego. And I wasn't the girl who grew up going, I want to get married and I want to have babies and da, da, da. No, I was totally different. I
Mm.
wasn't that girl, honestly. The joke is, when I had my first false labor with my first daughter, I realized I didn't even know how to change a diaper.
Oh, this is going to be my daughter. Just see it.
So for me to then say, no more, I'm not going to do, I'm going to create my own, right?
Yeah.
I know I have something, and I was no longer going to work for someone else. I was going to take control of my children and be there first for them. And, I knew I had something else to share. And so, as scary as it was, telling my husband after we bought a brand new house, after we bought a brand new car, this was all prior to September 11th. We bought it in May of that year, May of 2001. And then this happens, and I go to him and I go, and y'all, I'm making a great income. I'm making a great income. And I said, nope. And I was the one doing the bills. And he said, can we make it? And I was like, of course we can. Of course we can. I was very certain to him, but in the background, I'm going, I'll do whatever it takes. I promise you, I will eat peanut butter and jelly. I will pop popcorn for dinner. I will do whatever it takes, because this is what I need to do.
We're not going to make it today, but we'll make it in 30 days. Like, that's a hard conversation to have, let alone with your husband, with yourself.
Sometimes we're just put in a position. And so I offer you that, not to create that position like I did. It was that, like, well, sink or swim, and yet there's a little bit of that energy that was good energy, that kind of like, I don't want to go back to that. So I will do whatever it takes. And quite honestly, there were definitely so many days I was like, I don't even really know what I'm doing, except for that I know that there's no turning back, right? So if there's no turning back, there's that constant being open to, all right, what is it that I am meant to do? How am I going to do it? And I know that there's so many of you going through that right now, right? This past year so this is 20 years ago, which I just think is so unbelievable that it's 20 years ago. And isn't it interesting that I started it after something so I don't even know, so tragic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of our year of 2020, and I know that there's a lot of tragedy that happened for people. And now people are coming out and going, all right, what is it that I really want to do? Or what is it that I have to do? Right?
Probably in New York, community rallying, but as the other rest of the nation, we didn't really see that. What we experienced was a lot of just silence and waiting to see what the game plan was, right? Or what the news is gonna tell us today. And I'm sure that, people with businesses were already like, oh, how is this going to shape me and my business? And I think the things that came after that are almost unexplainable in the sense of how many businesses were born out of 9/11. People who were either working at the building now are unemployed that have to figure it out. I just think back, like, how many of those people now are entrepreneurs, probably for 20 years, who knows. Thank you for sharing that story and just providing guidance, because I think truly when we look at the face of fear, it's the what if that's happening on the back end, right? It's I experience it too, almost to the daily. What if I can't make this thing work? Or what if I still can't continue to be in business? What are some of the deeper, darker moments that you had kind of post, okay, I'm doing this thing, I'm labeling myself as an entrepreneur. So you get up, you get running, right? And you start doing the thing. And then are there any moments either that you had, or maybe you even still have them, some people do, where you just still have that limiting belief, or that it's just a dark moment for you where you go, I don't.
Oh, such a good question. So I will tell you, so 20 total years, we keep saying that, but I'm not joking. I'm not joking. When I really got clear that there are certain characteristics that are just in me, that's it. They're just in me. I can't deny them. I'm not going to deny them. They're in me. And the three that I feel like just speak so loudly are encouraging, vibrant, and joyful. So encouraging, vibrant, and joyful. So that's what I'm going to bring you to speed up to now, 20 years later, when we had another scenario in our lives where it's like the fear and the silence, like you said, and the not knowing of what's going to happen, but knowing in my gut that I'm meant to show up encouraging, vibrant, and joyful. And yet I'm questioning whether or not I should, because who wants to hear that? Who wants to hear joy? Who wants to hear encouraging? Who wants to hear vibrant? And I'll tell you, in the very beginning stages of this whole thing, I was still being me with my family. I was still doing this, but I was a little bit more like, I was like tiptoeing, like, do I really, does anybody really? And then finally I was like, no, God kept telling me. When I have now looked back and said, when I did that, and when I was true to that, my businesses, my relationships, everything, it was good. It was good. But when I tried to stuff it down, like when I finally left the other industry because there was just too many changes that weren't in alignment with me anymore, and I started my own training and development and speaking business, I thought I had to wear a suit. I thought I had to be Miss Corporate Nina from Hyatt, because I'm in training and development and I'm a speaker, and that's what people are looking for. And it's not that I wasn't maybe getting the clients or doing the things, but let me tell you, they were like sporadic. The moment I put back on my jeans and my t-shirts with my sayings on it, and I was just encouraging, vibrant, joyful, sharing what I know to be true, it's like the flow is going. I can't even.
Flowing.
It's going and flowing, as our friend Talisha says. What I say in my book is, in the flow is where we grow. So what is your flow? And I'm telling you, for the longest time in my training and development business, I was showing up a certain way. I was dressing a certain way because, again, I thought that's what the industry commanded.
Mm.
And I couldn't have been further from the truth for me, because it was like stifling me, because it no longer, I knew it wasn't serving me. And for me to be me, I had to be me. I mean, I know that sounds like,
Yeah.
ah,
No, but I think you're saying something valuable in the sense that the industry almost was craving you and the way that you showed up, because the for anybody that knows the training and development speaking industry, it comes with all walks of life, but most of the material that you find out in mainstream is sort of the same stuff, if you will, to where when you show up on Nina's platform or anything that you put out in the world, it is different because, and you say it, you're the FUNness facilitator, but you really are implementing the fact that you have to show up as yourself and you have to have fun in your business, because those two components are what sets you apart from the competition, but then also allows the people that you attract to be themselves and show up in their business how they need to show up. And then that further just brings in all the people that are going to be appropriate for their customer base, right? And I think for you to share something so powerful in the sense where you had your corporate position, you were doing what everybody else was doing, you had this small epiphany moment where you were like, okay, Nina, time to do this. You did it for 13 years. And yet again, you reinvented yourself to go, okay, now, no holds bars. We're doing this completely Nina style. And here we are.
And here we are.
Amazing. Amazing. And I think, really your story of just once again continuing to reinvent. I just want people to really hear that, because it's always at the foothold of you making choices over and over and over again to be better, to keep showing up for yourself, to letting God lead you to where you need to be and not you forcing the hand and going, oh, but I think I need to do this thing over here, or I think I need to be this person over here. And consistently, he's like, well, no, Nina, actually, we're going to do this.
Oh, I love what an incredible listener you are, and how you can oh, I'm just so glad you hit record, right? For you, and you trusted the journey, and that we're able to tell these stories. And so when I say, like, I know that I know, and now I can show up as a full expression of who God created and designed me to be, that I feel like is the key to your kingdom, right? And you said, we can use the word reinvent ourselves. And I think maybe Callie and I can come up with something new. It's so interesting because it's really not reinventing yourself. It is really, and it's going to sound so simple, but being yourself in a space where you know that when you do it, the opportunities are going to present themselves, right? And think, like we said, like you're going to flow. So I think if there's any, like, it's not even reinventing, it's really, with really powerful questions, you're finding out who you truly are. And you probably already know it. Remember, like, you probably already know it. And now it's like you're given that permission to say, okay, I know who I am. I'm going to have those qualities of who I'm being first. So where can I be encouraging? Where can I be vibrant? Where can I be joyful? And when I do that, not because I'm trying to make something happen, but because it feels good, inevitably, I do my next right step, right? And then when I do my next right step from being who I truly am, I'm going to have the experiences and the successes that go along with it. So if you hear me say that, again, the being is first, The doing is next, and then the having is there. And so the more I learned that, I got to know that, and I started operating that way, I really came down to, because in training and development, do you know how many options there are of what I could share with people? Do you know how many things I've learned through the years? If you're listening to me and you're a speaker or a coach or any of those things, or you're in social media or whatever it is your thing is, you're probably like, well, I can teach on that, and I could teach on that, and then I could teach on that, and then I could teach on that, and then I could, and that's what I was doing. And I was so scattered. It was like I was getting a client here or there, and I was like patting myself on the back, but then there wasn't real like momentum, or I don't know. It just, if I could be really, really, really good at helping people with one thing over and over and again and again and again, if I could simplify my life and business that way, what could happen for me?
Mm.
And you and I, before we hit record, we're like, oh yeah, it's great being an entrepreneur. You got to do those business things, those finance things, and you do, people, you get to hire someone or you get to do it yourself, but you got to know your numbers. Don't get me wrong. I love to have fun, but I got to know, right? Like I know that I know things are going well and numbers don't lie.
Yeah. Because
So,
nobody's coming to save you, right?
right.
Nobody's going to show up and run your business for you, or, some of those things, so that you can run amok and do whatever you need to do. Sometimes you got to make those appointments with yourself to go, okay, Nina, time to show up and check in.
Right. And I remember the days where I did not do quarterly taxes as an entrepreneur. And like the end of the year would come and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So now I am committed to it, right? No matter what. And I wanted to get it done because we're going out of town. And the numbers, it was, oh my gosh, you guys, I don't say this to impress you. I say it to impress upon you. Again, when you get really, really clear on who you were designed and created to be, and when you create a vision based on that purpose, and you hold the confidence that you know to be true, you let go of those limiting beliefs, you learn how to talk to yourself, right? I'm a brain training specialist, so I work on that all day, every day, and you stay committed to this focus, which I have. The result, my income is up 37% from last year. 37%. And okay, I know that was 2020, right? But guess what? In 2020 over 2019, I was up 20% in my income. So I did not skip a beat with the pandemic or anything like that, because I was already so clear going into it. I had already shifted. I was on Zoom before people even knew what Zoom was, right? So I definitely pat myself on the back for that, for being ready and poised. I tried scary new things. I tried Clubhouse, right? And I have made my commitment to that. And I don't do it because everyone else is doing it. I'm on there very little compared to a lot of people. And yet the choices I made are in alignment with my current assignment. And that's what matters, right? So, I mean, I'm saying a lot of words that probably may not or may land with you, but it's really about not looking at what everyone else is doing, but looking at who you are and who you're being, so that you can do the things that totally match with your characteristics and your calling, and you will have the success that you desire.
Say it louder for the people in the back, Nina. I love you. I am consistently in awe of Nina Obier, and I I feel like you poured into me as much as I felt like other people need to be poured into. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. What exciting things do you have going on? Where can people find you? And I'm going to hold it up. I know people won't be able to see us, but let me tell you, she has this lovely, and it's available on Amazon. It's called My Daily Clarity, and it is 90 days to connect, create, communicate, and celebrate. And even just reading the foreword in here, I got teary-eyed for one, and then you move to the introduction and I'm like, oh yes, like this is right up my alley. something tangible that I can carry with me. Thank you for creating that, because my heart, my heart needs that of all places. But I really think it's a good exercise to help you get clear on who you are, who you want to be, right? Because those are two different things. And then how do we sort of move through that? And moving through the flow every morning has been just being able to dump and have God lead me through putting words on paper has been an undeniable shift, even just in the 3 days that I've had it. So
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
super excited for the end of the 90 days for myself, but and I'll definitely include a link in the show notes so that people can go and connect for that. But tell us about the exciting things to come in your
Well,
world.
so it's so interesting, Callie, by no coincidence. I think you know my favorite thing, but a God incidents. And when you posted that you had gotten the daily clarity system, I honestly, tears, and they're probably going to come up right now, really came to my eyes because it was almost 5 years ago where I went through an immersive experience. And even though, right, I had been an entrepreneur for how many years and I was in training and development and creating programs left and right for corporations, for myself, for my clients, I was told to go to this experience. And I did myself a favor and I left the I already know that at the door. And thank goodness I did. And I allowed myself to be a student of this program, this experience, this life, the people who were right in front of me. And so only really two times in my business life could I not sleep after attending something. And one time was when I attended a little class where we put our photos on a page and we wrote a story about our families. That was a scrapbook page. And that first business that I did, I ended up doing was in scrapbooking. And so that turned into, right, my total passion project. The second time was after going to this event. I remember getting up and I kept looking at my blueprint. I couldn't sleep that night. I had it on the dresser at the hotel. And I came home from that trip. And in 2 days, I put together my daily clarity system and it was ready to be published. So it was something that was there, right? It was a system that I was using with my clients. And they were even saying, I'm tired of printing out a piece of paper every time. Isn't there another way? Right. And no, 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 no. But coming out of that. And so since that moment, a completely simplified business that is totally grounded in that experience and my daily clarity system. And just the other day, I walked 10 incredible humans through it. And what came up for me, the blessing that I get to go through it so many times, is I am creating a daily clarity movement. It's what God is guiding me to do, to let people to have this opportunity to put pen to paper because it's what I'm known for, to get the clarity they need to be, do, and have all their heart's desire. And then, Kelly, you show that you went and got the book on your own. So you get the opportunity in business to be a full expression of, of who you are. I would love to put you through the process to help you with it, but your greatest characteristics, what your heart is calling you to do that is forever. It's not changing. I know that if I have a conversation with you and I hear that you like to put olive oil on your food, well, I now have this great olive oil place and you need to go there and your new best friend needs to be Charlotte and we need to connect you two, and that may turn into something else. Or if you tell me, yeah, I love social media so much and I love telling people how to help them out and how to do that, I'm going to be like, well, why aren't you doing it as a business? Is that your true heart's desire? Come on, let's do it. Like, I can't not do it.
Right.
So there's something that you cannot not do. And there's these characteristics that when you put them together, that's your secret sauce. You are your secret sauce. So if you don't know who you are because you're letting it in your head with 60,000 thoughts a day, and guess what? You're going to have 90% of those same thoughts the next day. And if they're not thoughts that are serving you, how's that working for you?
Right.
That's why the system was created. And that's why, oh my gosh, I feel like you and I connected and I said yes to this. And now we get to spread the joy of the system. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you have anything that you want to share as far as events that are coming up, or where they can connect with you as far as needing either inspiration or needing to work with you, getting clear? What things do you have trending in the social pool?
So I have definitely made the decision. I am still, as of this moment, a Clubhouse girl. And thanks to an incredible group of women and that support it, that keep coming back every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we hold the space for you to share what's bringing you joy. It's called Cup of Joy. I mean, Cup of Joy, that's what we're all about. And it's even a space that if you're not feeling it, we hope that you will come and you will trust us and that we will get your energy going in that room. And so Clubhouse is a space that I feel like can serve you in so many incredible ways if you're very mindful of where you spend your time in there. So because I've chosen Clubhouse as one of my vehicles, I have also then chosen Instagram because right now they go hand in hand. And so connect with me on Instagram if you want to know more about my crazy love of happy hour, selfies, and if you want to learn more about the simple things I have done in my life and business, which basically come down to putting pen to paper, asking myself what's going right, and always trying to keep the energy of what if it's better. So those two places is where you can find me hanging out. In my bio, you will always find at least one free resource that will, again, keep you on the positivity line or ways to keep that energy going through the day. And sometimes I have that immersive event available. So the best way to find out is to go into my Instagram, into my link, and check out what's going on at the time.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just have one question because that's what resonates with the podcast. Nina Obier, what do you know for sure?
What I know for sure is I'm a God girl. And the more people I tell that to without any shame or blame or trying to push it on anyone, but the more that I accept that that's who is in charge of my life and I trust and surrender, there's actually more joy in my life no matter what comes my way. It doesn't mean that everything is going the way, that I would like it to, but it's the way that it is supposed to. And so I think
Thank you again to Nina for sharing her heart with us, and I hope that everyone found this valuable. And as always, please be sure to check the description box for all things Nina. And if you are looking for a space to be loved on through Clubhouse, be sure to find her on Clubhouse and follow her around. She is a wonderful resource. And as always, see you around the socials.